Well, here we are, thoughts from the office. Redneck's Pride Outdoors. Excuse me, I got a scratchy throat this morning for some odd reason. But it's April 13th, I think it is. And I'm going to do a video today on, I'm feisty. Let's crank it up, all right? I'm going to do a video on fishing scents, and in particular, the argument of oil-based fishing scents. Now, I started making fishing scents back in 1991. It was. Started playing around with the ideas and coming through with a lot of different mindsets and what have you. And I went at it. I went at developing fishing scents the same way I developed and formulated my trapping and ADC baits and lures that I had been doing since the mid-'80s. Which means what? I didn't follow rules. I followed my rules that I found that worked in my trapping ADC baits and lures. And those baits and lures was made for taste and smell. I formulated those baits and lures to not only smell good, but to taste good. So I probably broke a lot of rules in the lure making field, if you will. And I had a lot of explosions too, I might add. Buckets blowing up and what have you. You're not a lure maker unless you've had a few buckets blow up on you. But anyway, let's get back to what the purpose of this is. Fishing scents. And I watch a lot of videos, I read a lot of articles, I listen to a bunch of people talk. And the one thing I laugh at is folks get a absolute concrete opinion based on nothing more than what they think. Which is based nothing more than what they think, based on what they think, which is what they think they grabbed out of midair because that's what they think. It's not based on anything. It's based on personal I want me's. It's based on personal, this is what I think, therefore it's correct. And we're all that way. I get that way once in a while. But God has ways of humbling me and make me dig into things and look into things and look at it as a redneck layman and find out what's going on and what's not going on. A lot of folks will badmouth a fishing scent that is oil-based. And the reason they bash an oil-based fishing scent is because oil and vinegar don't mix on your salad. It separates. Oil and water separates. Oil floats to the top. So everybody looks at that and they say to themselves, well, there can't be any value to an oil-based fishing scent because as soon as it goes into the water, it floats to the surface, and therefore the fish isn't getting a hold of it. I'm gonna just talk old general redneck to you here. It's common sense things here. I've heard many, many fishermen, I get seasick as all get out. I get seasick. I wish I didn't. I love nighttime blue fishing. I used to nighttime blue fish like crazy. And in my younger days, I was able to, a lot tougher than I am now, but I would be able to go out, way out in that blue water at night, fish all night, fish and chum, They used to kid around and say, Jonesy, the reason we're catching so many fish is because you're chumming so much. Now that I'm older, I can't fish and chum. Anyway, getting back to it. When I talk to old boys and they talk about bunker, now that's New Jersey's term for that big old oil fish that everybody loves to fish with and everybody loves to use. Bunker, mullet, whatever. One of the things you will hear that on very large schools, if you look at the top of the water above that school of fish, you'll see a sheen of oil. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I'm told. Okay, and I have no doubt to not believe that, but this is what I do know. The reason bunker is a really good bait fish is because it's oily. Same thing with shad. Same thing with certain species of catfish. Same thing with trout. They're oily. And I'm not quite for certain of what the percentage is scientifically of oil in those fish. I guess each fish has got a different percentage, but I'll tell you this. This is what I do know for a fact on making fish oil for over, I don't know how many years now. I have a commercial fisherman that supplies me with a certain fish product. No, I'm not going to tell you what it is. And no, I'm not going to tell you how I do it. But I have a certain fish product that this certain commercial fisherman gets me. And I will take this product, that's fish, and I will fill up a 5-gallon bucket. I make it in 5-gallon buckets. It's easier so I can regulate and control it better. I've tried it in 55-gallon drums and it's harder to control the factor there. But anyway, I make it in 5-gallon buckets and I will put about 4.5 gallons of this fish product by volume in this bucket. So I'm leaving, a little bit on top for expansion and what have you. And this process that I have, I make a pretty clean, good smelling fish oil, just like you would see pressed almost, okay? I also buy pressed fish oil too. But to get back to my thing, I make this oil and I have a certain way of making it. And in about 6 months' time, sometimes 8 months, depending on the weather, I will pour off the oil. And now that 4.5 gallons of volume of fish product, I will come up with about 2 gallons of clean fish oil. Not fish juice, fish oil. All right. So here's bringing it back to our fishing talk. If a fish has that much oil in it, all right, then somehow, way, shape, or form, that oil is transferred into taste and smell in the water. Now, I don't know how. I'm sure chemists could probably tell you that. Because I used to think the same thing, that the oil goes right straight to the top and the fish don't care about it. Well, here's what I believe, and this is layman's term, and I may be right, I may be wrong, I don't know. But this is what I believe from making fishing sense for all these years. Number one, I believe fishing scents, when you're using them on a lure or it's setting there, it does give off a scent trail and a taste trail. I do believe that. But I don't believe it's like we think. I don't believe that it reaches out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles. All right. I believe what it does is it leaches out, and it's whatever distance, a foot, 2 foot, 10 foot, 20 foot, 100 foot, I don't know. But I believe it leaches out and flows with the current. And even though the oil will float to the top, okay, when it's down in that water, it is going to flow with the current. That oil is still going to stay in its molecules floating until it gets to the top. However far that goes, I guess that's going to probably depend on the current, or in your case, how deep you're running your lure and how fast you're running it. That's what I'm thinking. All right. And as that fish gets into that stream, that current, that cone, that whatever you want to call it, that fish does, in fact, pick up on it. Now, I have seen with my own eyes testing fish. Like I told you, when I do testing on our baits and lures and what have you, or my fishing scents, I will always test with a strip of leather, and I put the oil in that leather, and then I'll toss it out in clear water, the clearest water I can see, and I usually cast it out to where I can see sight fish. Cast it out there on a rod, and watch the fish's behavior. And I've personally seen, where I will throw that piece of leather out, and it'll be 2 foot, 3 foot from a suspended fish, bass or bluegill or whatever it is, and within just let it sit there on the bottom or on the bobber floating. And I have seen fish suspended, not paying attention to that, and within a few minutes, a minute, or 30 seconds, whatever, the fish literally will swim over to the leather and pay attention to it. Okay? I've seen that. That's one of my testing programs. I want to see the fish do that. And I'm using an oil-based fishing scent. And if you've ever smelled my fishing scent, you're going to know exactly what one of the oils are. And it's not the only oil, but what you're going to see in my freshwater, my trout, my catfish, my liquid oil scents, you're going to smell the fish oil in it. I'm not trying to hide that. You smell it, you know it. Okay? So, whether we want to believe it or not, whether you want to believe it or not, fish will pick up on that oil. Now, everybody's going to the water-soluble basis, which is fine. But the problem with water-soluble is what? It leaches off the product faster. When you take an oil-based scent, and you're especially using cut bait, or you're using a soft plastic lure, oil will suck in to that material and gives you longer time. All right? So even if you don't want to believe that the oil can carry out a little bit, if you're fishing a cut bait or a soft plastic, and you toss it out in 10 foot of water, and it drops down to the bottom, the oil leaching out of that plastic or that cut bait is going to not go straight up because a current is going to go this way, and any fish above it is going to can have a possibility of getting into the stream, into the comb, into the whatever you want to call it. All right. I wish I was a chemist. I could explain it in terms that could impress you. But I'm just an old redneck, so I'm explaining it in terms of redneck. Flat out understand it. All right? Those fish shed. Can't get a better herring. Sardines. Those fish give off oil. Their body is oil. They have oil in their body. Heck, we have oil in our body. Don't believe that? What did the old mountain men used to do? Take their finger, rub it on the side of their nose, and hit their sight with it. Why? There's an oil there. Right? You feel it. An oil gland there on people. You do that, you feel it. You take that. Old timers used to take that and rub their bowstring down. I was told. Right. So I just wanted to talk about that because we tend to, as people, tend to think things based on nothing more what we think, based on nothing more what we think, and what we think is grabbed out of midair because that's what we think. And we don't base it on reality factors. And we don't base it on trying something. And if we do try it, it's just that, try it half-heartedly to see if it works. And if somebody tries something to see if it works, it's not going to work. You have to try something to make it work. In your mind, you're going to make that thing work. Now, getting back to my sin, Redneck's Pride Outdoor Fishing Baits and Lures. Since you sold, yesterday I got 5 gallons of grass shrimp. I'm going to need that times 3 more times easy. But 5 gallons of grass shrimp that we're going to start to process to put into our catfish baits and lures and our other baits and lures. Grass shrimp, yep. I let a little secret out on you. All right. We use a lot of grass shrimp. We use a lot of worms. We use a lot of minnows. It's our sense that we call the real thing fishing sense. All right. And we stopped making it for a while because people liked our oil better, but we're bringing them back out again in full force in paste version. So you can take it and smear it on your lure or whatever. And guess what that paste version is going to be? You bet it. You got it. It's going to be an oil base. Why? So it stays on your lure, stays on your products. It sucks into your cut fish or your cut bait. All right? The real thing. We use real stuff. Real grass shrimp, real worms, real minnows, real mealworms. Real food that fish eat. How we do that is because we're a bait and lure manufacturer for the trapping and ADC fields for 30 plus years, and we just know how to do it. So that's what makes our baits and lures different. All right, there's my plug for Redneck's Pride Outdoors. There it is. I saved it to the end. All right, but you know what? Hopefully, I said something to make you at least think about. Oh, you know what? Another guy told me the other day, fish can't taste, fish can't smell. Well, whether they want to believe it or not, fish can smell. And they smell about, I think it's 50,000. It's 50,000 or 50. 50 million times more, or 50 million times something parts million. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. They can smell a whole bunch. All right? And what folks don't understand is fish may not have that tongue. They may. I don't know. They do. I never even looked at a fish mouth to tell you that. But they have these sensors inside there that can taste. All right? And I know for a fact fish can taste because I've taken products that smelled and had fish come up, put it in their mouth, and then open it up and let it back out again. Researchers say fish can taste. Researchers say fish can smell. You don't want to believe them, you don't have to. All right. But I've seen it. So fish do taste. Fish do smell. So that's why we make Redneck's Pride Outdoors the real thing fish scent and baits. It's taste and smell, just like our trapping and ADC baits and lures. We've been a long time on this one. This is a long video. Like a lot of people clicked off at 15 seconds. But anyway, we'll talk to you later. This is Thoughts from the Office. We'll end it here. Redneck's Pride Outdoors.